Hey, welcome back to Brick System Brothers. My name is Nathan Masters. Today I have a special HO scale 1 to 87 scale VW 1500. LEGO produced these in, the HO scale was produced from 55 to 1970, and the VW 1500 was produced for 2 years in that range in the early 60s, 1963 to 1964. Back in the 60s, you could find this car in 2 different LEGO sets. If you wanted the car and the garage, you could buy set number 267, and it actually came in this little 4x8 LEGO garage. We'll look at that in a second. If you wanted just the car, I think it was a little bit later, but you could buy set 667 and get just the car in a little cardboard box. These boxes today are pretty hard to find. The cars themselves, not too hard to come across, but you will notice if you do pick up one of these down the road, or if you're looking at different auctions, the little jeweled headlight pieces are usually not included in the socket anymore. So those tend to come out, and yeah, it's just one of those things. Being a 50, 60-year-old item, it's not going to be perfect unless it has been stored in very good condition, taken very good care of, and of course those harder to find and worth more. Now, being a 1 to 87 scale vehicle, these are actually pretty small, smaller than you might expect. For reference in terms of LEGO geometry, it's sitting on an 8x8 round disc right now, and this is actually how big it is compared to a minifigure. So minifigs, somewhere between 1 to 2 inches tall, absolutely dwarfed by the minifig on the stand here. For an outside reference, I do have a tape measure here. It is in inches. We're American Brick System Brothers. It's just about 2 inches long on the nose. So a little tiny collectible car, and Matchbox Hot Wheels cars a little bit bigger. I don't know the scale of those off the top of my head, but this little guy, I don't know, it's nice for, it doesn't take up a lot of room, but it can be harder sometimes to stand out if you have it displayed next to some other things. So my copy of the VW 1500 is classic blue. LEGO also produced this car in 6 other colors. So we have our grayscale. Oh, hold on a second. Alright, now I have all the other colors. Our grayscale, white, light gray, dark gray, and black. Dark red, red, and blue are the 7 colors that this vehicle can be found in. Since these are older items, they're not as well documented, and sometimes we actually learn of other unknown colors that show up in kind of obscure collections. So we're pretty certain that this is all there is, but there could be prototypes out there or unknown other colorings. But some of the other cars that happens to more often, I think the VW 1500 is pretty well known across the board. And here is the 4x8 garage. It's a little more easy to kind of scale this just in terms of, we have the stud reference this time. So a minifig, slightly taller, but a little more manageable. And these are really nice for displaying if you do have a decent amount of these cars, or even just 1 or 2, because it has these clear sides. It is sloped a little bit. I think it was able to roll out, and the car goes up in there really nice. Bring this door down, tip it back a little bit. Look at that. So the garages were standard across the range for display purposes. They were actually part of the packaging for the 267 set, and they would have had a paper band around when it was new and sealed. Some of the other models that were included as the garage package sets were slightly longer or slightly shorter possibly, so there is a little bit of tolerance in there to allow for that. And being 8 studs, this is 2.5 inches, so a little bit of room to play for the VW 1500 in the garage, height-wise as well. It's not quite as tall. Quick look at the underside. It does show that Lego logo, patent pending, VW 1500. There's even some detail here for like the underbody, transmission, and exhaust a little bit. Look at that. Solid tires. There wasn't a lot of detail on those. It's come to be kind of a recognizable feature for these cars. I think it does help them stand out from other companies that were making these models. So classic Lego look for these little guys. That's the VW 1500. Like I mentioned before, with the pricing or value on these, most of the time they'll be missing the headlights. Should be able to find one with glass mostly intact. That doesn't seem to be a big issue. But these start at about $30 on eBay. If you do have one with the headlights in really great condition, possibly even including a garage in better condition than mine has a couple scratches, that could be a $100, $150 item pretty easily. It also does depend a little bit on the color, possibly having some colors that are not as common. Not too sure about which ones those are, but I do know that the bulk vintage box that I got this in had 4 blue and 1 red, so red may be more uncommon. It might just be the spread of the cars in that lot. If you want to see more from the other pieces that this was included with, go check that out up there. Would appreciate it. Oh yeah, here's a quarter, just to get another idea for the scale. Very small, very cool. Getting to be kind of old. Definitely would be in the vintage Lego category. More collectible, a little more niche. It's definitely not the first thing that most people think of when you say Lego. And that's kind of why I like them. It's just kind of something different to include in a Lego collection. Also a fan of the car styles from this era, late 50s and early 60s. I do like those. So thanks for watching, guys. This has been Brick System Brothers and Nathan Masters hosting. We've got one other review from these cars out that we published last year, the Opel record. So you can find that on our channel as well. Otherwise, we hope to see you soon. If you liked, hit that subscribe, and we'll see you next time.